All right, unless there's any objection, we'll just go in numerical order and start with House Bill 1312. And Representative Lekis, you have a motion.
I do. I move not recommend for further legislation for House Bill 1312.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Second. Okay, Representative Schuett, seconds. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
Sure. This actually turned out to be very productive. This is a reminder, the issue was there was a small business that was required to put in a big grease trap when they were required to, when they changed their menu a little bit, and some thought that that requirement was unreasonable. It's a 1,000-gallon grease trap. So the shack, ice cream, that shack, that decided to sell a few other things. So we had a meeting with representatives from the Department, the Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, as well as the Building Code Review Board. Turned out that there were some conflicts between the rules that the two promulgated in this area, and there was also, some on the committee and others thought that the rules were too rigid and that the waiver process, which did exist, was unclear, people didn't know about it, and was actually too restrictive. So the folks from those two boards agreed to go off and meet and come up with some kind of proposal, which they did. And they came up with that. Are we being recorded? Do I need to use the mic?
It'd probably be a good idea.
All right. Sorry about that.
We got your subcommittee meeting got top billing on the House webpage last.
In the which? Oh.
Your subcommittee meeting
Got top billing on?
the webpage is some of the activities.
I see. So they came back with a proposal, had some comments on them. They revised the proposal. And the end result was something that everybody involved seemed to be happy with. So what they did is they've committed to doing some rulemaking to get the rules in line so they're not in conflict, and also to loosen up the requirements somewhat, to take into account smaller businesses than normal. They're going to drop, DS is going to drop the requirement, the minimum size for grease trap from 1,000 to 500 gallons, which will make it match the International Plumbing Code, and modify the criteria for small food service establishments that would be permitted to use internal, they're called hydromechanical grease traps, without having to bury some great big tank. And they would allow that by rule under some circumstances. And they also loosened and clarified the rules on getting a waiver. And so this isn't going to require legislation. They have committed to doing rulemaking. They also committed to providing additional training to the inspectors on not only the changes, but also, the process for waivers, which I guess have been kind of ad hoc, and they're going to formalize the process a little bit more. So, it was unanimous on the committee that this sounded like a good solution. And also Representative Aaron, who is the prime sponsor of the bill, and, thought this was fine. And also the business in her district that prompted this whole thing, Representative Aaron showed the planned agreement to them, and they also were happy with it. So I don't think we need to do anything further other than, we can keep an eye and make sure the rulemaking actually occurs and the training as they committed to. That's
Okay,
it.
Representative Schuett, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just add that it was somewhat gratifying to hear that DES took this as sort of a learning moment, and there was a great deal of cooperation in forming the solution that they arrived at. And I'm hopeful that that may solve some problems that could have come to us in the future without us having to be involved.
Anyone else? I'd like to mention that I went to the final meeting of the working group. And you're absolutely right, DES was kind of shocked at how convoluted the process was. And so was DES. And the Building Code Review Board agreed to modify the plumbing code so that the requirements of hooking up to a sewer system were consistent with DES's septic requirements, which, because DES had specified one of the allowable options and said you must use this option if you're connecting to a septic tank, and therefore the plumbing code needed to be modified to say that if you are connecting to a septic tank, you will use this type of pipe. So it was very useful, and I appreciate Representative Aaron from bringing us this bill, but it doesn't need legislation at this point. Representative Sajtek.
So you believe these people?
I believe I made a comment at the end saying we need to keep an eye on it to make sure the rulemaking and training occurred, and there's nothing to prevent future legislation if they don't. They seem to be pretty serious and committed to it, so I don't see any reason not to believe them. But, trust but verify kind of
If-
thing.
if
We can
our-
always keep an eye on them.
Yes, if by January they haven't started into rulemaking, we might want to nag them a bit. Okay, anyone else? Representative Sajtek again.
The clerk notes that Representative Schmidt is not here. The Rockies will tumble, Gibraltar will crumble. It almost never happens.
He didn't say why. Yes, Representative Bailey.
I was deliberate.
Well,
Representative Bailey.
I'm inclined to agree with Representative Lakis, but I'm a little disappointed that none of this makes whole the people who were the victims of this, who must have spent tens of thousands of dollars on this nonsense.
Yes, well, we can't make retroactive laws, unfortunately. Well, no, fortunately, sorry. Yes, if they hadn't decided to go ahead and install that grease trap the size of their building, we might not have gotten the chance to get involved in this. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, the motion is not recommended for future legislation, and the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Rhodes.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Representative LaSalle's.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Lekis.
Yes.
Representative Allegro.
Yes.
Representative Bailey.
Yes,
Representative Goley.
Yes.
Representative Schuett.
Yes.
Representative Marsh.
Yes.
Representative Fellows.
Yes.
Representative Grote.
Yes.
The chair?
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? Guess not. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 to nothing.
All right, House Bill 1444, registration of medical spas. Representative Grote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion that the subcommittee would like us to make a motion that it be recommended for continued legislation, for further legislation.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, would you wish to speak to your motion, Representative Grote?
During the course of the hearing, there was a resistance from the doctors who were part of a lobbying group that actually hadn't been registered with the state. They have since registered with the state, and during the subcommittee hearing, the information that I had gathered from other medical spas were that the medical director position was one where a doctor was actually being paid for the use of his name in that profession. and their availability was not wasn't clarified. So their representation as the medical director of a facility, and in many cases, they are medical directors at many facilities. So that their availability wasn't clarified, and that perhaps a different word instead of medical spa, a better word might be medical cosmetology. So these are recommendations that we would take with us should we continue legislation on this bill. And the Board of Nursing was present at the hearing and they support these changes and support the bill. I'm sorry?
Who was?
The Board of Nursing.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Goley, I have a question, actually.
Yes,
In what form of legislation are you recommending?
a bill. What do you mean? It's the same, similar, where OPLC would have the authority to inspect, and any concerns they would refer to the appropriate board.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Representative Goley, do you wish to speak to your second?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too agree that this should be further looked into, as the medical spas are using drugs such as Botox and such not in their procedures. And this would give OPLC the ability to go in and further inspect, and the requirement that checking in to make sure that those are being used appropriately.
Okay. Yes, Representative Grover?
I would like to also say that not only would the proposed legislation give OPLC authority to inspect and refer to the appropriate board, but there would be the availability of the medical director would be clarified to something like 15 minutes. So if they were to be called, they'd had to respond within a specific time. And we would also look at changing the terminology in the bill from medical spa to medical cosmetology.
Okay, thank you. Representative Lekus?
Thank you. So I have a question. That is, what form would you anticipate sort of the licensing take? Are you talking about doing a facility license for it?
Yes, similar to what we're going to do with the massage therapist. Exactly.
Okay, follow up.
Follow up?
My understanding is that even like a doctor's office doesn't have a facility license. And assuming I'm correct in that, what's different about this where you'd require a facility license for a place that, probably isn't doing things any more hazardous, probably less so than a doctor's office?
I disagree. These are medical facilities that are not doctor's offices. They perform services such as not only Botox injections, but filler injections, and there's something else that they do that I can't really recall, but that are putting a foreign substance under your skin. And that requires, certain expertise. And if something should go wrong, because oftentimes a nurse is conducting these procedures. If something can go wrong and there's no one to consult with her, then the patient is in a difficult situation.
Follow up?
Okay, I mean, I can agree, certainly that can be hazardous. But I mean, there's some things of similar hazard, I think, that occur at doctor's offices. I mean, I maybe could go along with, requiring access to a doctor more quickly, but I question whether the step of a facility license is actually necessary. So, thank you.
Okay, Representative Allegro, and then Marsh.
Yeah, I just want to make 100% sure that I understand. Each of the service providers is licensed under their own board. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Marsh?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's become evident in the state of New Hampshire that we have a distinct lack of transparency in medical disciplinary procedures. And this is pervasive amongst medical practitioners, that things don't necessarily become known to the public that would become known to the public in other states. The question before us is whether more legislation is needed. I think what Representative Grota is saying is that the public deserves to have more transparency because complications have been known to happen in some of these elective cosmetic procedures. And whether that legislation takes the form of more transparency at the Board of Medicine, or whether that legislation takes the form of licensing of these facilities, is an open question and not a question before us today. But I firmly believe that more legislation is needed because I believe we do need more transparency to deal with we need more transparency from the Board of Medicine. Thank you.
Okay. And Representative Sitek?
I guess I'm going along with this recommendation. I would point out, I think the difference between this and a doctor's office is a doctor has a considerably higher level of training and experience than, say, a nurse that's doing the procedure. So maybe with that toe in the door, I'll go along with this.
Representative Allegro?
Although, Representative, I would like to add that in general and broadly, certainly the physician has a wider scope of training and more training, but not necessarily in a very narrow procedure that's being performed. So, a physician may have more experience than an electrician as well, but not in wiring.
Okay, thank you. Representative Rhodes?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Representative Grota, if I may, I have a question. And I don't mean for this to sound defensive, but I'm a little bit concerned about the terminology of medical cosmetology or medical cosmetologist, whatever you said. Is I think everybody is very clear that a cosmetologist is not in any way, shape, or form allowed to diagnose any kind of medical condition. So in the word of transparency, is using that terminology or creating this term to make it be more appropriate to what someone's looking for, is that actually going to confuse the public more into thinking that this person is a doctor when they certainly are not? Unless I'm understanding what I might be misunderstanding what you're saying. So that's why I'm really not being defensive. I'm really confused on what you mean by that.
And I understand, and I thank you for the question. That was a suggestion. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but they thought that the word medical spa might not indicate the kinds of procedures that are being done there. So medical cosmetology was a suggestion only. It's not something that would perhaps be in the future bill.
Okay. Representative Sitek?
Representative Allegro, I'm voting to continue with this, I'm not voting on the final bill. Okay.
No. Anyone else? Representative Fellows?
I'd just like to say that, like, I'm a little concerned about what you call it too. So if there's a bill comes up, then some research can be done to figure out what do other states call this, and I think that would help. But I think another important reason to have them licensed is that we need to identify specifically what they can do and what they can't do. And then
I'd
we
like
could
to
figure out the
mention that
name to
when
go
we
with it.
were when we first started the subcommittee on this, the consensus at the first meeting was that this sort of operation should be, if it's licensed at all, it should be licensed by HHS as the same way they license other medical facilities, because it is a medical facility. And it should not be licensed in the same way that barbershops are. And that's something that I'm concerned that that whatever kind of bill you put in is going to have conflicting requirements. And I believe that if it's a problem that people are working outside of their scope of practice or outside of their knowledge and experience, that's not an issue for OPLC. That's a problem for the Board of Medicine or the Board of Nursing or whomever. And so I don't like the idea that you send OPLC in to, check people have licenses because, as I said, it's a medical problem, not a licensing issue. I haven't heard in any of the testimony we had that there were unlicensed individuals doing things. It was more a matter that licensed individuals were working outside of their scope of practice. So I would be very, very hesitant to vote on whatever legislation came through. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, the motion is recommend for further legislation on House Bill 1444 by Representative Groda, seconded by Representative Goley. The clerk can call the roll.
Representative Rhodes.
No.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Lascelles.
No.
Representative Johnson.
No.
Representative Lekis.
No.
Representative Allegro. Representative Bailey.
No.
Representative Santo-Nastasa.
No.
Representative Goley.
Yes.
Representative Schuett. Representative Marsh.
Yes.
Representative Fellows. Representative Groda.
Yes.
Chair?
No.
2, 4, 6 in favor, 14, 8 opposed, I guess. 2, 4, 6, 8. 6 to 8, the motion fails.
So 8 yes and 6 no.
No, 8 noes and
Okay, 8
motion fails. Okay. Is there a different motion from someone?
no. Motion.
Okay, Representative Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would make a motion to not recommend future legislation on House Bill 1444.
I'll second it.
Okay. Moved, no recommendation from, no further legislation from Representative Rhodes, seconded by Representative Lekis. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
No, thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we've
Representative
covered it.
Lekis?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, in that case, the motion is no further legislation, and the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Rhodes.
Yes.
Clerk votes no. Representative Lascelles.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes. Excuse me.
Representative Lekis.
Yes.
Representative Allegro.
Yes.
Representative Bailey.
Yes.
Representative Santo-Nastasa.
Yes.
Representative Goley.
No.
Representative Schuett.
No.
Representative Marsh.
No.
Representative Fellows.
No.
Representative Groda.
No.
And the chair.
Yes.
Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8 to 6 the other way in favor.
Shocking. Okay, the motion passes. House Bill 1557, Representative Goldie, I believe that one's yours.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As being the prime sponsor of House Bill 1557, I move that it is not recommended for future legislation and speak to the motion when I have a second.
Okay, I'll second it.
House Bill 1557, the language was added into Representative Lanzara's bill, House Bill 1497. This bill was held over just to make sure that it went through the full process and was signed into law by the governor, and it was. So this bill is no longer needed because the language has been adopted and signed by the governor in another bill.
Okay. And I will say that I agree with Representative Goldie, said everything necessary. Anyone else have a quick comment on this bill? Okay, seeing none, the motion is no further legislation on House Bill 1557, and the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Rhodes,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Lekis,
Yes.
Representative Allegro,
Yes.
Representative Allegro.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Representative Bailey,
Yes.
Representative Santo D'Estaso,
Yes.
Representative Goley,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Marsh,
Yes.
Representative Fellows,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
That's 14-0.
Okay, motion passes. House Bill 1566. Representative Marsh, I believe this one's yours.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I move that no further legislation is necessary as the entire substance of House Bill 1566 was incorporated by amendment to Senate Bill 450, passed and signed into law by the governor.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Do you wish to speak to your second?
No, I think that was covered it.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, that's, in that case, the motion is no further legislation required, and the clerk can call the roll.
Yes, he can.
Clerk will call the roll
He's about to.
when ready, sorry.
Representative Rhodes,
Yes.
the clerk votes yes. Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Lekis,
Yes.
Representative Allegro,
Yes.
Representative Bailey,
Yes.
Representative Santo Anastaso,
Yes.
Representative Goley,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Marsh,
Yes.
Representative Fellows,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
14-0.
All right, another,
A lot of snow in the driveway here.
yes, indeed. All right, the last one is Senate Bill 230 on the practice of body art, and Representative Grote, I believe that's yours also.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Madam Chair. The subcommittee met, and this bill is similar to House Bill 1429, which we recommended for further legislation, and the motion for this bill is the same.
Thank you. Is
You're
there a
welcome.
second? Seconded by Representative Schuett. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
I think no, I don't.
Representative Schuett made the second. No, okay. Is there anyone else wish to comment or question on this? Representative Sitek?
I had a glimpse of the committee report,
That's what she said,
proposed
yeah.
committee report on this, and it was very reasonable. I have a question of the chair. What do I do if it's a reasonable recommendation, but I don't want any licensing at all for this?
Vote no.
Oh, no. Okay, thanks.
Anyone else have a comment or question? Representative Johnson?
What was the recommendation? Because
For further
okay,
legislation?
that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. Doesn't look like anyone else wants to speak. So in that case, the clerk can call the roll when ready.
Almost. Representative Rhodes,
No.
clerk votes no. Representative Lascelles,
No.
Representative Johnson,
No.
Representative Lekis,
No.
Representative Allegro,
No.
Representative Bailey,
No.
Representative Santo Anastaso,
No.
Representative Goley,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Marsh,
Yes.
Representative Fellows,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
the chair.
No?
I missed somebody. Or Well, this isn't adding up. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Oh, 5 to 9? I thought, what happened is, oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, the motion fails, 5 to 9.
All right, does someone wish to make a different motion?
I'll make it.
Okay,
I recommend no future legislation, Madam Chair.
is there a second? Okay, seconded by Representative Allegro. Do you wish to speak to your motion?
No, thank you.
Representative Allegro? Okay. In that case, the motion is recommended no further legislation. And when ready, the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Rhodes,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Representative Lascelles,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Lekis.
Yes.
Representative Allegro,
Yes.
Representative Bailey,
Yes.
Representative Santonastaso,
Yes.
Representative Goley,
No.
Representative Schuett,
No.
Representative Marsh,
No.
Representative Fellows,
No.
Representative Groda,
No.
and the chair.
Yes.
So we have 9 to 5? 9 to 5. Motion
Okay,
prevails.
motion prevails. All right. Everyone who made a motion that passed owes me a committee report at your earliest convenience. And I think Representative Rhodes, you should mention the why there's such a split. The unanimous ones are easy, but the ones where there's split, you ought to report on why the committee was divided. Okay, so Representative Goldie, Marsh, and Lekis, you've got easy ones.
As long as it's acceptable, we already have mine.
Okay, I will work on it. Anybody have anything else? No, well, thank you all for coming and good luck in your elections.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Snitek, I'm glad.